Welcome to the Bonsai Rendezvous 2023. My name is Michael Roberts, and I'm the president of California Bonsai Society. We are here this weekend celebrating nearly 40 years of our club's history. We have workshops, educational seminars, a great show of our collection. Each of our collections has donated 5 trees to the show upstairs. This is from the garden in Fresno. I hope all of you will enjoy what we have here today and come back and see us again in 2 years.
I'm a bonsai professional operating out of California, out of the LA area, but basically available to travel across the United States. I'll just give a quick blurb on my background, but I apprenticed at Fujikawa Koken in Osaka, Japan for about 2 years or so, and then over the COVID period I've been studying a little bit with PRT and other professionals in here. And we had another very skilled professional in LA, John Wong. He's not here right now, but I used to go work with him a bit. So just a little bit about me. So we're here for the GSBF Santa Nella Rendezvous. So it's just an exhibition for all the California clubs and hobbyists, and so we have a collection of trees from the 3 public GSBF collections. One of them, from the Clark Collection, which I work at, originally was a donor tree from Vince O. Young, I think that's his name. And so he's the donor at the collection that basically funds my program so I can work there. So having this tree here is a little bit of just kind of a respect and tribute to him, but it's this large landscape juniper. It might be a Pfister juniper, I'm not exactly sure on the variety. And so the great kind of volunteer and curatorial team at the Clark Collection has been developing this. They had Ryan Neal style it in 2019. And in the past year, since I've been working on the collection, we're just getting everything healthier and stronger, refining the trees and just improving them a bit. So the past year we've just been working on and getting this displayed and exhibited here. So we have this pretty interesting, taller California juniper here, and it was donated from Sam Kawaguchi. This tree, we've actually been working on it the last maybe year or so, and we've been basically trying to rebuild some of the pads and set the structure. To be completely honest, it's a little premature to show this tree. We can still see it's a bit thin and sparse on some areas. We're growing it, but overall, for just the scope of the time, it's still pretty prepared and refined for the tree, for the show. So there's a lot of nice layering and depth and really kind of unusual deadwood for a California juniper. So something that adds a lot of nice contrast. It's just kind of interesting to show. So we can go to the next one. Have a Korean hornbeam. This tree is quite old actually, and most of these Korean hornbeams weren't grown in the US, right? These were import trees, right? Especially you look at the trunk quality like this, right? This doesn't really look like field-grown material. The raw trunk itself could have been Yamadori or something that was imported out of Korea, maybe like, could be 20, 30 years ago. Yeah, we wanted to bring some trees, not just purely coniferous, right? Deciduous, give us a little bit of a contrast. In terms of the displaying, I think overall the pairing with the stand, accent, and pot do work well. The tree itself, right, has a lot of age to it, but kind of we have a little notation on this tag. This is a tree that's actually being rebuilt, right? So kind of in these successive years, we're going to work these branches more intensively just to increase the quality of the tips and the ramification. So a lot of great potential, but how I see for bonsai, there's always space for improvement and progression over the long term. So I'm not too focused on purely just a finished image, although for a show we kind of think about that, but we should also think about how trees can progress and improve. So a lot of major work for this in the planning.
Well, she's probably spent more time.
This is another olive in the collection. I haven't really done much work on this tree necessarily, right? This has been developed and kind of maintained through the great curatorial team at the Clark Collection. But the tree was healthy, and it's a very powerful tree with very old dead wood, so it has a lot of good presence for the show. We had issues finding accents to pair for this tree to display for the show, and so we have a little bit different of a companion, kind of this waterfall sort of viewing stone suiseki, if you will. And it does actually work quite well with this tree because this base has so much visual mass that we do need something a bit stronger for the companion. Talking a little bit about the style, it's worth to point out, a lot of these, I would say, older broadleaf deciduous trees, the way the tree is kind of designed is more in this quote-unquote coniferous style. We look at these branch lines, right, a little bit more like how you would see junipers be built, which was pretty common for a lot of these older trees being developed. It's just important to note when you're designing and creating your tree how you set the primary branches in the early stage of development. Pretty important in how it shapes the future of this tree. So while this tree does have a nice aesthetic, say if we wanted to grow this branch thicker or change the pad style, much harder and more time consuming to do right now. But overall, very powerful tree, and we'll just continue improving it for its given design. We always call the Naka tree at the Clark Collection. I know Bob has this book, but in Naka's book, it's one of his examples he uses for some of his work. I think Bob had this tree reworked or worked on by Ryan maybe a few years ago, and then from that we've been trying to maintain it in image of, I guess, of Naka's original intention. It's a little bit strange of a tree with this very kind of elongated trunk line, a bit unusual, I guess, for Californias. Originally we had issues coming up with the display, just limited stand choice. Really, this tree could potentially work well with a short, kind of narrow cascade profile. But kind of in lieu of the perfect stand, we did end up going with the slab just to accentuate the length. And so the balance does end up working out. So a bit of a historical tree, and with the public collection, I guess there's some concepts, although we always talk about this idea of continuous improvement and making the tree as good as it possibly can be. This is one of the trees that they just try to preserve its conception of the original artist. So right, John Naka, and just kind of what he had in mind in his books. So, and it does look quite similar. If you do find the book and see the page, it's pretty much the same as when it was originally made. Thank you again for seeing the trees at the Rendezvous. Please visit the Clark Collection. It's located at the Shinzen Friendship Garden out in Fresno. They have a very dedicated curator, Bob Hilvers, and a volunteer team that are there every week to kind of maintain and work with the trees. So it's a great opportunity to visit or even to come and join as a volunteer and learn. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Manning, and I've been practicing the art of bonsai for 42 years now. And I was a student of John Naka's. I was also a student of Mitsuya in Japan. But I'm here today because I've curated this exhibit of the 3 bonsai collections from GSBF. And we're proud. I'm at the collection south at Huntington, and we've got 5 trees to share with you that brought from San Marino. So we should do it. We can start with this tree. This is twisted pomegranate. It was grown from a cutting for more than 60 years, most of that time by Jim Barrett. And there are no hard cuts to that. And he eventually sold it to the Bernstein family, who's donated it to the GSBF collection at Huntington. So that's one of our trees. This is the only tree in the collection that has been grown in a pot for its entire 60 plus years. Okay? Let's move over. This is a buttonwood. This is the smallest tree in the exhibit. And this is a subtropical tree from South Florida that the Bernstein family owned. And it's full of character with all this shari and gin. It's quite happy at the Huntington, and we're happy to have it here. Let's move over. Do this spectacular California juniper. This was collected by Harry Hirao and was styled by Masahiko Kimura in I think it was 2006, and later a few years ago the branch structure was refined by Ryan Neal. In 2009, Jim Barrett made this pot specifically for this tree, and he and Ben Oki potted it in this pot. So we're real happy to have this spectacular legacy tree. And next door is a 2-tree elm that was styled for 40 plus years by Shigmiya. Shigmiya was one of John Naka's very first students, and he loved elms. He loved deciduous trees. So, and this is in a Japanese pot, just recently put in there, but it's got that age and character over the decades.
Awesome.
Our final tree is this natal plum. And this was donated by Top Imagiri. And we've had this at the Huntington for a long time. This has been there a while. And unfortunately, all of the flowers had been trimmed off earlier. And just before this show, one flower, just 2 days ago, this flower appeared, and I'm seeing a lot of shoots. In another couple of weeks it'll probably be full of flowers, so at least we have one to show off. So we've got one flower in the exhibit. Here it is, and that's it from the Huntington.
Okay, so my name is Gordon Dake, and I'm the director of the Bonsai Garden at Lake Merritt.
Awesome. And then you brought 5 trees here to the exhibit, correct?
We have 5 trees here on exhibit, and this is one right here. This is white pine. This was, my understanding was at one time imported from Japan, and the person that imported it eventually gave it to, gave it to Tim Kong, or Tim Kong acquired it, and then a couple years ago he donated it to the Bonsai Garden at Lake Merritt.
Awesome.
Hasn't really been worked on, so Peter T volunteered to work on this tree and wire it out and to get it ready for the show. So it's been at Peter T's facility in the foothills for the last, say, 3 months or so, and he did all the wiring and prepped it all ready for the show.
Awesome. Let's go look at the other trees now.
Sure. So this is one of our oldest in terms of trees at the collection. This is a redwood. Was donated by Seiji Shiba, and it's tree number 105. This is our 5th tree, and a redwood styled in a redwood style. So it's one of our pride and joys that we've had at the collection for years. Apparently, Seiji had acquired the tree in 1971. He worked on it, maintained it until he donated it to the garden in 1999 when we opened up.
Old tree. It's an old tree.
Yeah.
Beautiful though.
Yeah. Very nice. This is another one of our very first trees. This was donated by Melba Tucker, and this is a Hinoki cypress, and one that she originally started working on. What had happened over the years, this had grown out, and Hinoki cypress is very difficult to get to bud back. So this is all grafted in by Jim Grimmer. He did the grafting on it. So really, this is one of my favorite trees at the collection. It's just, to me, it's just beautiful. It has a very nice feel to it and everything. So, behind here, this is donated by Kenosha. This is a coast live oak that he had collected and donated to his garden. Again, one of our oldest trees that we've had. We've had it for 20 plus years. And it's a variety that has a very, very small leaf size. So a lot of people think it's a scrub oak, but it's actually a live oak.
Oh, it's a live oak. Wow.
This is a Mendocino cypress. Sometimes they're called pygmy cypress, even though they're not really pygmy. They're only small because they grow in such a shallow soil, and the soil is very poor. So they don't grow very much. So they could be 20, 30 years old, and they look like a small seedling. We've had this, Frank Carrison collected it, and he donated to the Bonsai Garden years ago. So a really nice clump style and a really nice feel for this tree. So this is representative, these 5 trees are representative of the trees that are at the Bonsai Garden. We have about 100 trees on display at any one time, and please come by, visit us. We have many more trees. You can see the big old twisty, what I call twisty, which is a California juniper that has a full twist to it, has a trunk size about so big. Too big to bring here, but just one of our really spectacular trees. So come on by, free admission. We'd love to see you, and you can visit us if you want to on our website, which is Bonsai Garden at Lake Merritt.
Thank you for your time.
Okay?
If you guys like those 3 interview pieces from all 3 collections, like and subscribe, leave a comment below. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.